Oh, we're live. We are live. Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez pre-show. As somehow there's, you mentioned last time we have all this time off. There's nothing to talk about, but somehow here we are again.
The tornado seems scary for folks in Philly. My sister lost power. Dave Reuter had a tornado rip through his neighborhood.
It's fucking terrifying. Well, I'm in I guess northeastern New Jersey, and it's like the post office here got obliterated, and it's very scary. And they say go to don't be by the windows or go to the lowest floor. It's just like you feel like it's one of those things where they're telling you to do it, but it just doesn't feel like it will help if. Yeah, I'm sure you should. I'm not saying not to do it, but it's like this terrifying, helpless feeling,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Natural disasters.
Not great.
Not great.
Yeah.
Don't love it.
Wouldn't rank them really high. And I left, I spent my freshman year at USC in LA, and I left because I was terrified of earthquakes. And I get here, I get this fucking 25 years later, just shoving it right up my ass. All right, here we go. Time for the podcast. The Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up for DraftKings Sportsbook and use promo code RTRS, and brought to you by Nature Pet Foods. Slow cooked with Superfusion, home of the Soft Shit Award. Get 20% off your first order at Amazon or Chewy by using code 20RTRS. Adam Ksebe, the official realtor of The Process at processrealtor.com. And stateside, Urban Craft Vodka, the official sponsor of the Corner 3 newsletter. Vodka soda's back in stock. Great news. StatesideVodka.com. On the show today, Ben Simmons tells the Sixers he doesn't want to be on the team. He's not going to report to camp. And he wants to go to a California team. Maybe, maybe not. Rich Paul maybe told the Sixers that Tyrese Maxey would have to be traded too, but then said that maybe that didn't happen. And then Joel Embiid decided to weigh in on Twitter, first in a very funny way, and then in sort of a serious, annoying way about the whole thing. So we'll talk about all of it. Two quick things. One, the Bark in the Park run team for Providence Animal Center, the Rights to Ricky Sanchez Bark in the Park run team, is alive again. Here's the goal. 100 members of the run team, $15,000 raised. We're at, I think, like $4,500 raised and only like 25 members. If you join the team and raise at least $75, you get the cool t-shirt, and it all benefits Providence Animal Center. Thank you to By Nature and to Big Barker for buying the t-shirts. And thank you to Anthony, who donated $100 on Instagram Live the other day when I was talking and raising money for Providence Animal Center. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. And also a brand new episode of Carl Landry Record Club. A shout out to Mutlu and Amos, who are on the road now, playing Boulder, Colorado, I think tomorrow and the next day. My co-host Mutlu and I talk about the albums Hospice by the Antlers and Sam's Town by the Killers on a new episode. Get it wherever you get your podcasts. Without any further ado, Amos and the chef.
Larry, sweetie, the man is here. Say the name. I say the name. I say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right. We was right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. We were right, y'all. We were right. Even when it went wrong, we were right. We were right, y'all. We were right. So say the name. Say the name. Say the name. Say the name.
Welcome to the Rights to Ricky Sanchez podcast. I'm Spike Eskin, along with a guy who has been identified by a listener's wife as a poor man's John Hamm. That is Mike Levin.
I accept.
Ricardo says, I'm a big fan of the pod. I was watching the last episode on TV. My wife passes by while I was watching, looks at the TV, and the first thing she says that comes out of her mouth is, that guy on the right looks like a poor man's John Hamm. Mike appears to be into TV shows and the arts, so I thought it would be interesting that he takes the comment my wife made as a compliment. It may, quote, sound bad initially, but I believe it's a compliment. I mean, John Hamm is beautiful. Any iteration of him can't be too far on the other side of that spectrum. Your thoughts?
Fine.
Yeah. Poor man's John Hamm. I would take that. That's a great comparison. So, all right. So a quick recap of our last 48 hours in Sixers land. Just the shittiest sports land in the world. Just the worst. Run, fucking run. Okay, Keith Pompey reports that Ben Simmons sat down with Josh Harris, Elton Brand, and Daryl Morey and Doc Rivers in California and told them he does not want to be on the Sixers, wants to be traded, and would not report to camp. That's also what Pompey reported. Then Jason Dumas in San Francisco, but of Philly, reported that Rich Paul also told the Sixers that they have to move Tyrese Maxey too, and that local events were canceled for Maxey, or were told to be canceled. Then Dumas and then Kendrick Perkins said that that's not true. I don't think Jason Dumas just like made that up. Maybe he wasn't supposed to say it that way. I don't know.
Dumas did walk it back today.
He did. That's what I said. He walked it back and Perkins did. But like, what I would say is there was no way Dumas wasn't told that by, like, I wonder if he was supposed to deliver the first message in the way that he delivered it. So then Chris Broussard, I forget, somebody said that Ben Simmons would only go to one of the 3 California teams, even though there are 4. Chris Broussard then reported that Ben Simmons would go to any team beside the Sixers. And then Joel Embiid first makes a good like joke tweet yesterday about Real Madrid and trade, and then goes into a whole fucking thing, which we'll get into later. Do you want to start? There's like so much here.
I don't think it's like anything though. Like the idea that Ben wasn't going to come to camp was like something that was, whether it's public or not, was hanging over this whole thing. The Sixers very clearly are trying to trade him. There are already reports about him not, people not talking to each other or whatever, ignoring calls, bullshit. I think it's just like, look, everybody knows the deal. He doesn't want to be here. They don't want to be here. Now, finally, Clutch is like starting to put pressure on the Maxey thing aside. Clutch is starting to put pressure on them to be like, do a trade, please, quickly, because we want this to be wrapped up. And the Sixers have incentives to wrap it up quickly, but I think Daryl, if he doesn't get I think Daryl will wait for the best deal, even if it is annoying to have this drag into camp and call his bluff or whatever. I don't think the Sixers would mind if they do hold on to Ben. I don't think they're like begging him to come into camp. I think they know that everybody knows what Ben can do. If people like him, if GMs like him right now, they won't start to dislike him because he's sitting out of a situation that they probably feel is toxic. It is. I don't think that the Maxey thing aside, I really don't think this made much of a difference at all.
Okay, I agree and I disagree. First of all, I agree in that this was always going to happen. I disagree in that that's what everybody knew. I was told regularly that they can just bring him back and they could regain his value, and that now that the market isn't there, that they're not going to trade him. So I think like that first thing, I don't think everybody was on the same page with that. And I don't know that the Sixers were. I think they knew they had to move him. But I don't know that they were expecting this move at this time. The second thing I think is debatable. I've always, as far as like leverage goes with the Sixers, I've always said that the leverage is having the player. It doesn't matter if they, like when we talked about Anthony Davis, or you talk about years ago with Carmelo Anthony, who would only go to one team, that even with James Harden, the leverage is the player. The problem is not their leverage. The problem is that people don't want the player as much as they would hope. I do think, as Mike O'Connor wrote, there is high comedy in Ben like demanding a trade. You can go back years. And I remember I said at one point that years ago, this will come down to Ben or Joel. And that didn't have to be true. Like the only person who could have changed that was Ben Simmons. Like Ben Simmons created this entire thing. This is everything. There were mistakes made along the way. Elton Brand made mistakes. Daryl Morey, I think, made mistakes. Brett Brown made mistakes. Brian Colangelo obviously made mistakes. There were tons of mistakes made along the way, but they all could have been mitigated by the player acknowledging his deficiencies and working on them. But instead, he decided to not only not do that, but insist with a legion of idiots behind him, but insist and surrounding him that not only did he not need to improve it, but anyone who thought that was a fucking idiot. And you should roll your eyes and you should talk about how he didn't play in the league and he's a fucking all-star and yada, yada, yada. He caused this. Ben Simmons and Ben Simmons alone caused this. The reason that this isn't working out, the reason that this is a bad day for the Simmons and Embiid can work together crowd, is simply because of Ben Simmons. And for him to not acknowledge the very simple fact that a player shooting the basketball would improve his game. And by the way, I'm sick to death of the whole, well, he went through a mental thing and you shouldn't talk about it. The reason he went through a mental thing is because he did not improve in a way that would allow him to play basketball. And when defenses made it impossible, that's why the mental thing happened. This wasn't a guy that there wasn't any lead up to this. There was a slow lead up to this. So I just think it's comical and annoying that a person in his particular position as I don't know, the 35th or 40th best player in the NBA can be I demand a trade. It's no, you cannot quit because we are firing you. You don't get to do demands if you're at this level in the game. You don't get to do demands after you just had a legendary playoff collapse. And you don't get to do demands because you're upset that the coach, who by the way, spent 6 months bullshitting the entire country about how good you were. Because he made one bad comment about you, or Joel Embiid made one bad comment about you. The best way for him to get out of here is for him and his camp to kind of shut the fuck up right now and maybe play a game for a little bit. And I just don't think, issues with the franchise aside, I don't think him acting this way in this position, I think is inappropriate. And he can do whatever he wants, fucking obviously, but whether it's right or wrong, this is just it's wrong. You don't get to do that. Rich Paul, this is not Anthony Davis. It's not LeBron James. It's Ben Simmons. So I just think it's ridiculous that a guy of his stature performing the way that he just performed, with the attitude that he had during the entire thing. I just think it's comical and kind of insulting. So
yeah, I mean, I'm just the idea that a guy that everybody's shitting on him and the team is very publicly trading him, for him to be yeah, well, I also don't want to come back. That just doesn't.
But that's not what happened. That's not what happened.
I mean, it basically is. He's basically, his agent's hey, he doesn't want to come into camp. If you guys don't want him, you clearly don't want him. So he wants to be moved. And here's his preferences because he is a 3-time All-Star. They're allowed to ask for that. You're asked for a trade.
You're ignoring the most important part of this is that, yes, you can have that meeting. There are plenty of players who have had that meeting without leaving the meeting and texting Keith Pompey and telling him to write it. That's the difference. The difference is that I am sure, as we knew 2 months ago, when Rich Paul met in Chicago with Daryl Morey and Elton Brand, that they knew that this was going on, and that they were on board and that they were part of the process. There's an incredibly big difference between telling them that this is what your preference is and then going and texting Keith Pompey and giving him the details of the meeting and having him write it. That's a different thing. They're two different things.
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly Rich Paul thinks that this is the best way for their camp to use you put pressure on the Sixers and get the outcome that they want. I don't know if it's good or bad. I think Rich Paul probably sucks. I like that Nerlens is out here tweeting about it.
Oh, he did? What did he say?
I think that's good. He said he responded to a Kendrick Perkins thing and called him, I think, a clown or something like that. It's pretty good. And yeah, I mean, look,
I think that was about the Nerlens thing, though. It's not about the Ben thing.
Okay. I think that I mean, Ben didn't get better at the things that he should have got better at. That's for sure. but he was still a good player. And the Sixers, as a Ben Simmons centrist, they still didn't ever get him a backup 5 to play with who can shoot the ball ever. And that's been a problem for years and will continue this year, whether Ben will be here or not. And they didn't surround him with and none of the point guards that they got. Look, I think the Ben as a point guard situation came about in a way that was the Sixers wanted it, and then Ben was like, okay, I want it, and then they didn't get it exactly. He was a power forward in college, dude.
Yes, he was a power
they
forward in college.
Whether guys want anything or whatever, guys the Sixers didn't do a good enough job of getting good penetrators. Fultz would have been that, but obviously what happened. And so it's Ben is responsible for the things Ben's responsible for, and I think the Sixers are responsible for not doing a better job to mitigate those weaknesses.
The Sixers traded for Jimmy Butler, and then Jimmy Butler was gone because Ben didn't want Jimmy Butler around.
They didn't get along, and Jimmy also didn't like to shoot. It was not a perfect situation.
Yes, but they he didn't want other people doing that job. I don't think that's entirely true. They just didn't do a better job around him. And by the way, even if they do that, he's still got to do something when he doesn't have the ball, and he doesn't do it. The rights to Ricky Sanchez is presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. We're talking about basketball, but football is right around the fucking corner, 10 days away. Or actually a week away, 8 days away, we get the first football. And the place to bet football is DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL. With the NFL returning, DraftKings giving new customers $200 in free bets instantly when you bet $1 or more on any football game. Head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, place a bet of $1 or more on any Week 1 game, and get $200 in free bets instantly. And current customers can participate in DraftKings Week 1 as well. If you're a current customer, opening night, you can double your money as long as Tampa Bay doesn't lose by 74 points. So you can get Tampa Bay plus 74. Yes. Tampa Bay plus 74. There you go. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code RTRS to receive $200 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code RTRS to get your free $200 in free bets instantly for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Got to be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or PA only, new customers only, minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. To your point about Rich Paul sucking, I have no doubt that there was some conversation about Tyrese Maxey that he probably had to walk back. Something had to have happened there.
What malpractice as an agent to be like, hey, God. this situation that Maxey, if Ben gets traded for basically anything that isn't Dame,
yep,
Maxey, it is a beautiful situation for Maxey to step into a massive role and be allowed to improve on a really big stage and get 30 plus minutes a game, and to be like, well, he's getting traded also is like, fuck you, man. If I'm Maxey or I'm Maxey's whoever, business manager or parent or anybody, I'm like, fuck, if this is true, go fuck yourself. We can hire any other agent. So I would be pissed off about that. And I will not tolerate any poisoning the well between the city of Philadelphia and Tyrese Maxey. Absolutely not.
Maxey is in his current, there are a lot of players go through this stage, but trade anybody but him stage in Philadelphia. The Philadelphians love him. He's got a good, he has a chance at a good role here. If he ends up getting traded, which is possible, that's fine. But he just to be used as a fucking pawn by Rich Paul, who is playing agent, or what he thinks an agent would do on TV, pulling this bullshit. Clearly something happened there. So then, I guess a question for you: do you think they can just I don't think his value can go down if he doesn't play. Do you think they can just NFL? You know how sometimes in the NFL you just wait around for an injury to happen, and then what happened in Philly with Bradford. Do you think that they could just they could enter camp with him on the team, season start with him on the team, just sitting out and wait around. Do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I don't love it. I would rather the right deal present itself in the next month or so. And I think there's also a world where if it doesn't look good, that his training, his I'm not coming to training camp thing is a bluff, or he just decides later on, like, you know what, I want to play basketball, I'll play basketball. Like if they're saying they can't get the value from me, I'll decide to play. I mean, I'm not ruling that out at all. I think there's a possibility it gets worse, or it's a very explosive situation between him and Doc or him and Joel, although things again seem fine with him and Joel, or him in the city of Philadelphia, whatever. It is, I'd rather it not happen, but I think it's possible. Like, I think him just sitting out and being like, okay, it's either some team gets hit with injuries, or the cocktail of players in some team doesn't work out, and they just decide, like, you know what, we don't like that. There's a million things that are going to happen between now and the trade deadline for several teams that are going to be like, okay, this is untenable. So it's right now we're in a very harmonious, aside from the Sixers, harmonious period of the offseason for every team. Everyone's happy with the players they drafted. The free agency was a big success for a bunch of people. I'm sure they're thrilled. They got a new coach. It's all going to work out. But after a couple months, then it starts to sour. So then there could be a chance for a Ben trade then. But as Bodner wrote about it today in The Athletic, like it's just a weird situation because he's not as good as Harden and Anthony Davis. So he can't just like command a big package from anyone. He's a very specific player. The league is very polarized on him. He's had a ton of success personally, and then a ton of failure on a big stage. And he's still young, and he's still got a ton of years left on his deal. It's just a really weird, unique situation. Guys like this don't like come around very often on the trade market so openly. And so there's some teams that there's not that many, we talked about this before. There's just not that many teams that could be possible for Sacramento. Like if they're saying we're not trading De'Aaron Fox, then like fuck off. Which I get why they wouldn't. I'm not saying like they're stupid to not do that. I'm just saying like if you are not doing that, then the trade won't happen to Sacramento. Obviously Portland is there. You know, Minnesota, if D'Angelo Russell was good, I'd pounce on it, but he's not. There was a report from I don't know his name, John. It looks like Krasinski, but it's not Krasinski.
Right. Every time I see it, it's that guy from The Office.
Yeah, where he said like there's idea that Ben would want to play with his friends Kat and Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell, and it's like, well, great. So who's coming back then?
Right.
And so then it'd be Malik Beasley and like Taurean Prince's contract and Jaden McDaniels and a bunch of picks. Like, I think what may end up happening if it does become untenable trade-wise to keep him on the team, it might just do like let's do the half step. Let's do the like assuring Embiid and whoever. Let's do all right, we are trading Ben for a couple guys that can help now and a ton of picks or role players or whatever, or young players that we can then flip later on once there is that, you know, that opens up your team of who you could trade a bunch of stuff for. But then you're competing kind of more with like the Oklahoma Cities and Houstons and all the stuff of teams that have a bunch of assets at their disposal. So it would require a player to be like, hey, I want to be traded. And also I would like to go to Philadelphia, which hasn't ever happened. So,
well, yeah, I think the advantage would be maybe not Philadelphia, above all else, but a Philadelphia above the other teams
a rebuilding team. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. There's been a lot of smoke with Minnesota, and obviously it's real. But to your point, if they're not going to trade any of those guys, I do think that that's possible. And remember, something we talked about last week is that there is a possibility, and it just feels that way to me, that the Lillard thing could blow up in the first couple of weeks of the season.
Totally could.
When that team's not good enough.
And that's clearly that's both what's being reported and what seems to be the case of like any other trade, whether it's San Antonio for DeJounte Murray and Keldon Johnson or Derek White and like a bunch of stuff, like picks and stuff, or the Minnesota thing we just talked about, or like Detroit or something in a 3-team trade, whatever, maybe like Dallas and like Porzingis goes to Detroit or something like that. I've been fiddling around on various trade machines, obviously. They're just not as good of options as Damian Lillard. And so it feels a little bit like Daryl is, bunkered down in his office as it's getting like pelted with various armed machinery. And he's just holding on as long as he can until he has to make that move. I don't know where that metaphor went, but it's just like I get why he's holding on. I get why he's just like the barrage of reports and rumors and people are angsty and the city's upset. And me personally, I just want it to be over. Like, I would love to not talk about this anymore. I would love to just talk about like the Sixers with whoever they get for Ben, like moving on into the season and what it's going to look like.
It would be such a relief, wouldn't it? Even if it's somebody like not as good as we wanted, it would just be a relief to talk about.
It's hard to even imagine like what that would be. Cause I'm assuming that if it's for if it's for Malik Beasley, JD McDaniels, and like 2 or 3 first-round picks from Minnesota, then it's like, all right, that's plenty of picks. That's going to look good probably because Minnesota has been bad for so long. It's hard to be disappointed by stuff because the Sixers didn't lose anybody this offseason. They didn't lose anybody. They lost Dwight Howard, who was horrendous in the playoffs, and Mike Scott, who was out of the rotation, and a couple other. Anthony Tolliver was just waived. So like they're at full strength, and they've added George Niang, who's going to be a solid rotation player. Isaiah Joe and B-Ball Paul, second year. Maxey is making a leap. Like the odds are at second year of Doc, theoretically, guys are more comfortable. Maybe there's less COVID restrictions. Like there's reason to be optimistic about like other players getting better and continuing to gel and stuff. So it's just whatever they get for Ben. So I wonder what, if you just simply say, hey, Ben's not going to play the first 2 months of the year. Not going to play. We're going to say they plan on trading him in like over the Christmas holiday or something.
What they look like just minus Ben.
Just minus Ben. Like it's interesting to think about. So that would be a, your lineup is like you put Tobias at the 4 and then you go Maxey with Danny and whoever, either Seth or maybe you'd say Shake as a secondary ball handler and have Seth come off the bench. Probably maybe Matisse in there if you like that, but then probably then you're still if you don't have, I mean it's tough. You want a bunch of shooting out there, like, and that's where the complications come when it's like, okay, so you have Tobias who's reluctant, you have Matisse who's reluctant or bad, Maxey is getting better, but we'll see how long it takes. You kind of want Seth out there, but then all of a sudden it's like, so Seth is your like primary initiator. Like he's actually going to be point guard. That's tough. You want it to be Maxey, and I think you'd have to put him out there for it, and just like mix and match the bench players with whoever shoots. So it'd be interesting. I think that team would be a top 5 team in the Eastern Conference in the regular season. And then we'll see if they add somebody else. It's just really weird. It just feels like we've been in this holding pattern for so long.
It's exhausting.
It is exhausting, and it's very tiresome. It feels like the Sixers are like a TV show that's going on like for several seasons too long. Yeah. And they're just like, just cancel it. Just end the show. Just please put it out of their misery. I know there's a bunch of like crew people who work on the show that have like that love it, and it's a family, and we're having a great time, and everybody's made connections with friends we'll never forget, with memories we hate remembering. But it's just like, end the show, go on to another show, something. It feels like torturous. There's so many like fucking monumental shark jumps that I'm just dying over here. Just move along.
So we will get to the Joel Embiid thing and the soft shit award in just one moment. I can't wait to read Alonzo's newsletter tomorrow. The Corner 3 newsletter comes out on Thursdays. Subscribe at rightstoRickySanchez.com/newsletter. Brought to you by Stateside Vodka, which is from Philly. The vodka itself, amazing, gluten-free, filtered a bazillion times, but the vodka sodas, which are amazing, it's still hot out. The vodka sodas are back in stock, $8.99 for a party pack, statesidevodka.com. All right, Mike, the soft shit award, the By Nature soft shit award, coming up in moments. It's been a little while since we did the soft shit award, so you have that. Think about that in a second. Speaking of soft shit, with these storms, my dog will not go outside and go to the bathroom. I'm terrified that as we record this, it's going to happen. The good thing is because he eats By Nature, if he shits in the house, they won't be soft. It's going to be well-formed poop. And that's because it is a super healthy pet food. Look, you are what you eat, right? It's the same thing with pets. You need to get your pet the best food. How do you get the best food? Best ingredients, cook it the best way. That is by nature pet food. It is made with super proteins, premium proteins. The first thing is the protein, super ingredients, super probiotics, apple cider vinegar, spinach, blueberries. And it's so healthy, you don't need to worry about small dog, small cat, big dog, big cat. No, healthy is healthy. And it's cooked with super fusion. It is slow cooked, so your pet gets more nutrients because it's more nutrient rich. Very, very, very important. All that leading up to very firm poop. 20% off your first order at Amazon or Chewy by using code 20RTRS. That is 20RTRS. By nature pet food. Better ingredients, better cooking. By nature pet food. Soft shit award. Mike Levin.
I'm going to give the soft shit award to a man who is currently holding the soft shit of a newborn baby, Michael Weber. He's had a kid.
Oh, wow.
And so he literally is keeping soft shit on his person at all times now. So congratulations to Weber and Allie. I love you guys. Very exciting. Can't wait to meet this little Furkan Korkmaz Weber. What a beautiful name. Just a perfect pick, I think. So congrats.
I'm glad that Ben Simmons will be gone, and that it seems to at one point have driven a wedge between Mike Weber and me, and I'm glad that that wedge can be gone. Congratulations, Weber and Allie. So Embiid, the first day the Ben Simmons story comes out, goes out and tweets jokes about a Real Madrid trade or something. Like, he was just being normal Joel. He was very funny. But then today, somebody, Jeff Ziegler from USA Today, said that the Simmons Embiid rift had been escalating. A person with knowledge of the situation told USA Today Sports. So here is what Embiid goes. Sources, trust me, bro. Stop using my name to push people's agendas. I love and hate drama. I love playing with Ben. Stats don't lie. He's an amazing player, and we all didn't get the job done. It's on me personally. I hope everyone is back because I know we're good enough to win. Then next, I haven't forgotten, but 2 years ago, I got booed. People in Philly wanted me to be traded. I even shushed them. Only the real ones didn't, but I just put in the work that offseason to be better because I knew I wasn't playing up to my potential. Philly fans, y'all also got to be better. From my own experience, y'all have no idea how much the media makes up stuff for followers, and shame on you for believing them. For clarity, I love criticism. I love when I'm told I can't do something. It makes me work harder to prove everyone wrong, but not everyone is built like that. So just like the right at the end, just the right back to Ben. Look, this is Joel not wanting to get blamed for the Ben Simmons situation. Like, most of this is horseshit, and I'm disappointed that he tweeted like this, not just for the fans thing, but like straight out of the politics book of the media just makes stuff up, which, like, bro, you were part of CAA for years. Like, let's not act like your agency doesn't manipulate the media, even on your behalf sometimes too. And let's not act like everything that the media says is like, I just hate like the media is lying, the media is lying, the media is lying, because a lot of this stuff is true and it's unfair to everyone else. Also, for the fans thing, dude, we like took trips to come see you not play in different cities. And these fans have honestly stood behind this team better than any fans, I think, have stood behind any team. Like, just like, enough of this shit. Like, you got to be, they don't have to be better. They didn't throw anything at anyone. They didn't show up at Ben Simmons'
at
house.
Westbrook. At Russell
Westbrook. Yes, one guy did. But that's not what we're talking about. Like, yeah. And it's just like, it's such an unfortunate bullshit thing for him to say. I understand he doesn't want to be blamed for the Ben thing. I understand he's probably frustrated. I will love Joel forever. We all say shit we shouldn't have said. But like, I just don't like the media's lying. They always lie. Shame on you. And Philly fans, you got to be better. No, actually, like, you guys got to be better. Like, that's the problem. Wasn't the fans not being good. The problem was the team this year. And I think they were actually fine supportive of Ben Simmons. We've been over this, and every other player on this team, except for maybe Danny Green and Robert Covington over the last 10 years. So.
That's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Obviously, Ben and Markelle have gotten plenty of support. Yeah, I mean, I don't begrudge athletes from being like pissed off when people are mean to them, and especially if you're the kind of person, you can find anything on the internet. Like, I'm sure there's Blazers fans on the internet that are saying shit about Dame. Like, I'm sure there's plenty of places. I'm sure before Steph won a championship, there were plenty of people. If you go to a wide enough group of people, you can find the haters. You can always find the haters. If I was a professional athlete, and I'm not, I would just not be on anything.
Thank you for clarifying.
I would never be. I am. Well, I'm a semi-professional athlete. I would not. Well, I'm a professional athlete in the sense that like Chris Kumaje was too scared to face me in a 3-point contest.
That did happen. He was. I can attest.
I just wouldn't be on anything because you get nothing out of it. You get no value out of it. Maybe have an Instagram post, like have somebody else post your like nice pics or whatever, but like, don't look at it. It's not for you. You don't need it. It's bad. So I get why all professional athletes and the people around them that like are a lot of like yes people would just be like, hey man, that's bullshit. Fuck them. They just want to hate you. Like chip on your shoulder, whatever you need to get a chip on your shoulder. Fucking LeBron has a chip on his shoulder from like people still. It's like, dude, you're the best or second best player of all time. Like there's no chip. Like the chip is gone. But people have to do that. They have to make it up to feel like it's us against the world kind of thing. It's people just whatever. Everybody, there's so many like us against the fans thing. And in some places the players are right. And in some places just like, I don't and won't begrudge fans for booing when the team sucks in not just Philadelphia, anywhere. And like Javi Baez being upset about the Mets fans booing him. It's like, well, the Mets fucking suck. Like Mets fans should boo the Mets. And Phillies fans until this recent run should boo the Phillies. Like, fuck you, Sean Rodriguez. Like, it's just, it happens. This is the perennial thing. So I think athletes are right to be in their feelings. I would recommend that they ignore almost everything, but I also can't blame the fans for being pissed off when their team loses because they pay money and they pay their time and, you know, they're allowed to be like, respectfully, go fuck yourself.
Yeah, and to your point about like social media, like most of the people commenting on articles and tweeting, like it's not most people. Do you know how most people handle sports? They watch it and then they're either happy or sad, and then they fucking turn it off and go back to their life.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Embiid's probably thinking the fans. He's not thinking about like the people that flew to Minnesota, but he's thinking like some random, WIP caller or whatever it is, or any sport talk radio caller, not WIP specific.
Yeah, it's definitely talk radio callers and not people on Twitter, like
or
Joe
people on Twitter or anything,
yeah,
or people on the street, or people on fucking Comcast Sportsnet, whatever. The fuck.
But I guess what I would say is like there is an equal number of like. If you take the diehard lunatics that fly to Minnesota and Indiana and throw them out, right? And then you take the lunatics that like are tweeting incessantly about getting rid of Ben Simmons and getting myself maybe included and get rid of them. The rest of people are just normal supportive fans. Like they're just normal fans that get upset when the team loses and get happy when the team wins. And they're like, this just doesn't, the world in which fans are just, only supportive only exists with St. Louis baseball. That's not how it works. It doesn't have to work that way. And like, this will never, not only will it not change anything.
A fan base is not a monolith. Like it's never going to be anywhere. Yeah. Like people are going to be whatever they're going to be because they're people.
And by the way, like I love Joel. Like I think Joel's a great player. I think he's great for the city. And I mentioned CAA, like that. Everyone's doing what they got to do for their own shit. Agencies are leaking to writers and like all this. Everybody's doing, but like I don't begrudge them, I guess, for doing that. But like, let's not act like we're not all part of it. Joel, let's not act like you're not part of it. And let's not act like the fans haven't been a reason that he loves it, So I don't know. I think it mostly came down to he didn't want, when he saw that one thing about the rift between Embiid and Simmons or whatever, I think it probably triggered something inside of him like, ho. Like, I don't want to be thought of as the reason that this happened. And it probably pushed him to that. But.
Which I get, especially because if like over the last year, it's like, hey, we have a great relationship. It used to be like more like stilted, and over the last year, it was good. So don't say that this is on me. Like I get it. I don't know. I get everybody's perspective on this. I get why the Sixers want to trade him. Obviously, I get why fans are pissed off and wanted to move on. Obviously, I get why Joel's like, we should be better. I'm taking responsibility, but also like get me somebody better. And I get why Ben's like, well, then fuck off. Like I've performed a lot on a bunch of levels. I don't think he's saying I'm the perfect player. Is he being as introspective as I'd like him to be? Absolutely not. But did he get good enough for me to like go to the mat saying like we don't need to trade him? No, but it's time to move on, and we've been in this fucking purgatory for so long, and I'm ready to move on, and I'm ready to use that Al Horford trade exception, which expires in a week.
It expires on Tuesday, I think.
Yeah,
isn't it?
Right? Isn't it Wednesday? A week from like 6 days.
Oh yes, that's a week. I didn't remember what day it was. I'm sorry.
So
yeah,
let's just keep it moving. Like get the fuck. Come on. All right.
Yeah. I would love to. Maybe if nothing happens, we should just like. Should we do a non-basketball podcast on Saturday or something? Like I feel like I can't fucking talk about this anymore. This is from Brian. His non-basketball question, which is actually a basketball question. What is the non-basketball equivalent of asking for a trade from a team that doesn't even want you? Telling your ex you've decided to see other people after they've already broken up with you? What would the non-basketball equivalent to this be?
Yeah, I mean, like I get why he's saying like you can't fire me, I quit. Like I get that that's the thing, but like imagine if he leaked to the thing like I want to be here still, unfinished business. I deserve to be here. People will be like, that's like pathetic, dude. Like, what are you doing here? Why would you? I think people will be like, that's pathetic. Like, go, you're not wanted. Like, get out of here. I don't care if you want to stay. Like, as a professional athlete who's getting paid tens of millions of dollars, who's made multiple All-Star teams and the second defensive player of the year, I would be like, well, then like, fuck off. I'll go somewhere else. I would do the same thing. I get why it's like, you can't fire me, I'll leave. Like, I understand, but it's also, I don't think he should be clamoring to stay after how the last few months has gone.
Yeah, I agree that he shouldn't be clamoring to stay. I don't think that the reaction locally would be that you're pathetic. I think the thing that Bryce Harper has proven is that all Philly wants is for you to say that you like Philly and you want to be here. And I think I think like the further you get away from the end of the season, the more willing people are to just forget about it and just sort of turn, because people generally want to be optimistic about sports teams. Because if you're not optimistic, if you don't think it's going to be good, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you watching it or anything? So I don't agree that they wouldn't that they would have reacted that way, but I do agree on the whole about why he wouldn't want to be here. Writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com. Writes to Ricky Sanchez at gmail.com is where you send questions. Also, we're doing this live on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter. If you want to ask a question, CJ will tell us if there's something good. But mailbag question. Hi, can we get your take on the Mets thumb down controversy on the next pod? Very interested to hear where you fall on it. So I'm obviously working in New York for the Mets thumb down thing. It was incredible that Baez was just honest about it. Like, I was stunned. That is really being mad at the fans to not only do this whole thing for a month, but to then tell everyone what it is. It struck me as, man, what a great story this would be if this team ripped off 9 out of 10 or something. And it could be like the Jimmy Rollins, like calling fans front runners, or the Embiid shush or something like that. But the Mets just aren't good enough for that to happen. The whole thing seemed kind of pathetic, though I guess I could make the argument that if it was a way for them to bond and play well, I don't know, like it's that shit never goes well. I couldn't believe he was honest about it.
I like Javi Baez. I think he's a fun player, wild player. Takes risks. Very fun to root for. But I mean, fuck the Mets. I hope they lose every game.
And he's stunk, by the way, since he got to the Mets. He's been terrible. So the Rice Ricky Sanchez is brought to you by Adam Ksebe, Ksebe, the Process Realtor. Boy, it's a nightmare out there buying a place. You know it, Mike. I know it. It's a nightmare. It's the houses go quick. They go for way over asking, all this stuff. But then you look and you're like, interest rates are at record lows. I got to get a house. Adam Ksebe, you need a real realtor by your side, a great realtor, an honest realtor. Adam Ksebe, Ksebe. His team has Delaware and Maryland on lockdown. They're based out of Long and Foster and Bethany Beach. So if you want a beach house in Delaware, anywhere, Newcastle County, anywhere in Maryland, he personally has got you. But for someone like me, who refinanced almost a year ago, I needed someone to refinance. I went to Ksebe. He sent me to his guy, or his team. It was a guy and a girl. So 2 people. I needed a realtor in North Jersey. I went to Ksebe, found me TJ. So he can find you somebody everywhere, and he really takes care. He interviews the realtors that he's sending you to. Anyway, like I said, low interest rates right now. Delaware is a great place to buy, super low property taxes. But if you need a realtor to help guide you through it, Adam Ksebe, Ksebe. Give him a call or text him 302-864-8643. That is 302-864-8643, or email adam@processrealtor.com. So this email comes from Zach, who is in Australia. We've been in hardcore lockdown for the last 2 months here in Sydney, and with a newborn at home, it's been challenging times to say the least. I want to thank the both of you and your entire Ricky team for help keeping me sane for the most part. Basketball question. This is a good one. We got this from several people. Could you please do a new enemies of the process ranking? Rich Paul is surely to crack the top 3 behind Adam Silver and the Colangelos. Have we ever witnessed an agent conspire more against a single team than Paul has? If Paul ends up sabotaging the relationship between Tyrese Maxey and the Sixers as well, he could probably be in the top 2. I think we're probably due for an enemies of the process ranking, right? Is that a Underberger project, right?
I kind of think it's over. I think we're too far. We're past it. It's gone. We are the enemies. We're our own enemies.
Well, we could be on the list. I mean, we got to have enemies. If you don't want to participate, that's fine. I'll do it.
It just feels, going back to that well, like I just want to like be a good team. I just want to like be fucking normal good. Just do stuff. Normal stuff. The Sixers. Why?
Non-basketball question. Which sport has the most devoutly religious players and which sport has the least? I would say football for sure has the most. That is my sense. And the least, I would guess hockey. There's so many people from down south in the other sports, in baseball and basket. Yeah, I would guess hockey. You have any guesses? But football is number 1, I think, for sure.
I think it's all, it's a generalization, obviously. But I think for the most part, most professional athletes, or a lot of professional athletes, are religious, and they believe in God because God, or whoever, at least in their minds, gave them all these athletic gifts. So so would I. If I was a professional athlete and was like one of the 0.001 whatever percent to like get to make it to the top of my field, I'd be like, yeah, fucking God got me, like 100%. But I don't know. I don't know what the generalization is. It seems like most athletes like are big God guys.
Yeah, I do think it's football, and you don't hear it in hockey all that much. But from Chris, non-basketball question: seeing as how I live in Colorado, skiing or snowboarding? I ski. Snowboarded once, broke both thumbs at one time. Think that one through. It was a very humbling month or 2. Do you have I can't do either. I'm not capable. Skiing or snowboarding?
Neither.
Really? I thought you would have done one. Aren't there like mountains I guess there's mountains to go to everywhere, but I thought people did that out there.
I'm a feet on the ground guy.
Aren't your feet on the ground with both of those sports?
No, they're on various sticks.
Which those things are on the ground. Yeah, I guess that's fair. From Pete, I saw on a subscription sports website that Ben Simmons is not going to be reporting to training camp. I have to admit I'm a bit confused by all of this. I probably shouldn't be, but it seems like most trade requests come from star players when the team or management has been poor or has not done enough to keep the star player, if only from the perspective of the star player. In this case, it seems like Ben Simmons wants out because he, from any objective measure, was terrible in the playoffs. Is this a unique situation? Am I misreading this? Can you think of other situations? Yes, there was criticism at the end of the season, but what in the world was was not justified? Is Simmons' perspective just completely distorted? Can you think of anything like this?
Not really.
You gonna do the podcast, man? Like, I'm curious. Like, we're here. We both got it.
It's frustrating to be in the same. I just want it to be over. We're moving on. I'm also looking at the comments. I just found out that I can read the comments. I didn't realize I could do that.
Do you want to read the comments?
I'm still catching up.
You're reading all of the comments?
Yeah, I went to the top and I've been skimming through it as we were reading the stuff.
Oh, that's a good podcasting.
It's great podcasting, I think.
Well, I mean, come on, read the
with
comments.
the Bazooka Spoon says, "Hi, Mike." There we go. We're locked in.
Hey guys, I'm sure you get these emails all the time, but I'm heading to college this week and I wanted to thank you guys for everything. I started listening before my freshman year of high school, right before the first defaults trade. Since that point 4 years ago, I haven't missed an episode, and I listen like a maniac to each episode at least 3 times after it comes out. I'm going to college with the hopes of working in the NBA at some point. So if I fail, I blame you guys for hooking me on this basketball stuff. This is all just blabber to say thank you. The one constant in my life for 4 years has been the Ricky. So I hope LL and Cornblock keep paying you millions each year to do the podcast. Anyway, my question is about college. Any advice for an incoming freshman? What was your biggest college regret and your biggest reward? This is a totally awful question to answer on the pod, but it's 2 a.m. on a Monday night. Thanks a ton, guys. You have any advice for an incoming freshman?
My first week freshman year, maybe like first night. Me and my roommate, who I didn't know before, were driving to. We just someone's going to the grocery store, and we're like, all right, cool. And so we got in the backseat with 3 other people going to the grocery store, and they were playing music. And I was like, okay, maybe these are my best friends. Maybe these people are going to be who I'm friends with forever. And there was some song, I don't remember what the song was. And my roommate, Corey, still a good friend of mine, is black. And the other people in the car were white. And the song, I wish I remember what the song was, but there's a song where the N-word comes out. And I don't say it. Corey doesn't say it.
You mean in a rap way?
In a rap song, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And the other 3 white people in the car say it loudly, and then Corey looks at me and makes a face, and we never hung out with those people again. So my advice would be, don't say the N-word if you're white. You make friends that way. It's a good way to make friends. Just be cool about that. That's my advice.
Well, I think I've told this story before. Sophomore year, I had 3. So my freshman year, I went to USC. And my sophomore year, I transferred to Syracuse, and I got this dorm room with 3 people I didn't know. They were from central New York somewhere, Cortland, maybe. And they asked me if it was okay if they hung a Confederate flag in the common room. And I said no, and they didn't hang it. And that was it. It's just, I feel like I got to tell this story. My brother and I were in Las Vegas once, and we did a karaoke. And we will occasionally do karaoke to Mo Money, Mo Problems. And we did that. And there are a couple of those words in that song. And we accidentally, I think, we'd been edited the wrong word and felt it as we did it. And it was one of the most horrifying things ever. So I would agree with you that is really not the way that you want to not the way that you want to approach those things. Non-basketball question. What is the difference between cream cheese and schmear, and what is the best flavor? I thought cream cheese was a kind of schmear.
Yeah.
Right? White fish salad would be a schmear. Whatever you put on spread on a bagel is a schmear.
Anything creamy to spread on a bagel. Yeah.
Yeah. Best flavor? Do you have a favorite?
I love a white fish salad. Big white fish salad guy.
Great.
Your breath smells like it the rest of the day, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I don't eat it anymore. I do miss it a lot. White fish salad was awesome. And if I'm going to go with a cream cheese, I do love the veggie cream cheese. I'm big on the veggie cream cheese. And then finally, this one is for you. I thought this would be, you would enjoy to end on this one. This comes from Jack. I think Mike may enjoy this story. I put it in the comments of one of your videos, so not sure if you saw it, but my brother was the manager of Kendall's high school team his freshman and sophomore years before he went to UNC. What's his name? Kendall Marshall. They were actually good friends. My brother would tutor him in his math classes. Joe Wooten encouraged his players to take easy classes to keep up good GPAs for recruitment. Kendall was obsessed with the song Party in the USA. Everyone else either loved Tyler, the Creator, or Ghetto Rap, but Kendall was the best player, so he got his songs played during practice and warm-ups. All the other players hated it. It was hilarious. They all got along, but everyone hated the music he played. I also guarded Romello Trimble from UMD, who I believe had a brief Sixers G League or Summer League stint.
He did.
I'm the year after Melo, and I did all of the variety of workouts my freshman and sophomore year before I realized I wasn't recruited. We recruit from around the world, so I wouldn't make varsity ever. I was 5'8", which didn't help. So there you go. Kendall Marshall loved Party in the USA.
I love that. Good for him. Nice. I mean, should have made it. Should have been better. Kendall Marshall had a stretch, as James Herbert reminded me the last time we talked about Kendall Marshall, had a stretch where he was very good. And it looked like it was going to happen. He had his Travis Fulgham couple months. And I want to go back to that and live in that forever.
I remember
just like 16 assists per game. Kendall Marshall, come on, man. Slow as hell, not athletic, couldn't really shoot, but he could friggin' sling that thing.
But it looked like he could shoot for like 1 year, the year before we got him. And I know that you could argue that the Okafor thing was really Hinkie's downfall, but the Kendall Marshall thing, we forget about, like signing him when he knew he was hurt and he wasn't going to play when they didn't have a point guard. Like that was a bad Hinkie moment too. It was that ended up hurting him, you know? All right. Well, that's all we got. Maybe we'll talk about basketball this weekend. Maybe we won't. Maybe Mike will just read the comments. We could do it live. We could just have Mike reads all the comments.
That's fun.
You know.
Yeah, I think the thing that I want to move on to, basketball wise, I want someone to do an expose in what happened with Charles Bassey, like a 1-year contract for a second round pick that they bought the $2 million for the pick that morning and then drafted him. He sat out summer league. It's very bizarre. I know that story would get like 712 clicks, but I personally would like it. So if one of the beat writers wouldn't mind getting the full Charles Bassey story, I would accept it.
We will No, I'm not going to support them. I was going to say we would give something away, but I'm not going to support them. So absolutely not. Yeah, if who's maybe listening? Kyle could be listening. Derek listens to every podcast. What's up, Derek? Shout out, Derek. Somebody. We don't have anything else to write about. Just wait for Keith Pompey to write it. I'm sure Clutch will text him. All right, we'll talk to you this weekend. Are you down with TTP?
Yeah, lick face.